myself, so apparently it stays there forever.
So we don't have all of the meetings now.
At this stage, yeah. Okay, it started.
Stu, be very careful.
What was that?
We can't see who's watching.
We email if you want.
Who's that?
Be very careful.
Okay. Okay, please go.
Right. Okay, so welcome everyone along to our meeting today, 13th of October, and Collins, what's the first? Apologies. Apologies, please.
No.
Right. Public forum, there's none. Tony Hurley was going to be here, but he is no longer coming. Was he going to speak on the?
He was, yeah,
He was,
he
he's
speak on Teams, but he can't make it now.
Good. And condolences, just like everyone understand, for a moment, for the death of Maniototo resident Brian Tatum. Thank you very much. Can I please have someone confirm the minutes of the previous meeting as a true and correct record, please? Harris, second, please.
I'll second that.
All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried, thank you. Remind members of the declaration of interest if they find anything they feel they have a conflict with. Right, that's just perfect timing, Ellie. We're all ready for you. You can sit down anywhere you like. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah. You always have the best cheese.
You know everyone here, don't you, Ellie?
Yes, I do. Hello, everybody. So this is a very quick and simple report. As most of you know, we transitioned the grants process to a new grants policy and a fully contestable funding round. We made an effort to make sure that previous funders had received correspondence and advice on what that meant and when the funding rounds were opened. This board received one application to the advertised first round, and that is from the Central Otago District Arts Trust for an event that they plan to hold in Vincent, but with a strategy and a plan around developing that event into the future to become a district-wide celebrating talented, creative, written people from here and other places. So unfortunately, Jan Bean, who's the chair of the Arts Trust, who would normally speak to this, is on leave at the moment, or she would probably have filled you in a little bit more on the picture. My recommendation is to decline it for this year. The Trust does have plans to hold the event. Unfortunately, the person that they're working with is Auckland based, and at this stage they're still unable to confirm date as to when that event can proceed. And I think they could come back to you again in future with the opportunity that will probably involve an opportunity for this particular board.
It's all pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that was out of Alex, the arts. Was it the arts one?
Yes, the Central Otago District Arts Trust, and it's for their cover-to-cover events.
Everyone happy with that? Go to a read. Someone move that report be accepted, please. Sue, the second. Oh my God. Second, please, Duncan Howell. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. All that way.
Nice with me. Somebody.
That's all right, she came with me.
How are you, Nikki?
I'm good. How are you guys?
You know everyone here?
Yes,
No.
yes.
Sure.
So Ali's given the background information to my report. Thanks, Ali. So for the community grants, there were 3 applications and 2 of them are applicants who have historically received funding from the board. So that's the Maniototo Early Settlers Association and the Naseby Information and Craft Center. And 1 new application, which is from the Ida Valley Pool Trust. And so the Ida Valley Pool Trust, they have worked really hard to get almost all of the funding that they need to get a new roof for their pool. So $62,000 they've secured and $11,000 in community support, and they are just on their last $10,000 now that they need to secure. Maniototo Early Settlers, I have recommended the same amount that they've received in the past. They have asked for a bit more. The application probably could use a bit more information, a bit more details about the project delivery, and that's why I've done that. And Naseby Information and Craft Center is probably something that's been funded for a long time from this fund, but I've said in my report I'm not sure that this is the most appropriate fund. If it is a visitor center, that perhaps the promotion grant would be more appropriate for something like that. So open to discussion and questions.
So the early, when you say early, that's the museum.
That's the museum, yeah.
And those costs are mainly to run their
Yeah, that's just for towards operational costs, ongoing operational costs,
power.
which pays a part-time person and keeps the museum open really. But they have they secure funding from a lot of other places as well, so they don't rely on the board for that for the whole amount by any means.
So we give them 8,332. How much did we give them last year?
That's what you've been giving them for the last 3 years. Yeah.
8,003.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because done a lot of work up there. Have you seen the windows and everything? they've done?
Not yet, but I know they've been working hard on.
They're well worth going to have a
Yeah.
look. There's a lot of work being done by Mary Ann.
Yeah.
Mary Ann.
Yeah.
Have you seen the window street?
And I know they've secured a lot of external grants to get that work done, which is fabulous. Yeah, so they do work hard to find funding from elsewhere.
And you're talking about, is it coming from the right place, this money that we're giving them?
Not that one. That's for the Naseby Information and Craft Center. I'm not sure that money, it doesn't really suit a community grant because it's a visitor center. So I have suggested that perhaps the group should apply for a promotions grant for that.
So what do they want the money for?
So they normally get, in the past, they've gotten 2,000, around 2,400, maybe 2,441. And they just use that towards their operating costs, their bills, their power, their telephone, stuff to keep it open and running, really.
So how much is in the promotions? If we switched it to there,
You have 5,000 in total for the year.
so what's the timing of that? If we declined this and suggested that they apply for the promotions, will it
So
take-
they could come back in March and apply and still get the money within the financial year.
It would be probably May, I think.
Yeah.
Although we don't have the meetings.
And that's of course if the application does suit that fund as well, yeah. That's my recommendation, but I can't obviously guarantee that it would fit. Don't know, that would be up to Ali's assessment.
So what happens if it doesn't fit that fund either?
And that's up to the board. Well, I mean, it probably, if it's for visitors, then that's the more appropriate fund. But if the project doesn't fit the criteria, then yeah, that's up to the board to decide how you want to proceed with that.
And we've given them this money out of this fund for how many years? 2006?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Yeah, 2006, and then since 2015, it was formalized as $240,000 2,441. So prior to that, I think it was just reimbursement costs. So a lot of fragmented reimbursement costs. And so that was, it became easier to just make it into an annual grant.
So why can't we keep taking it out of the same place?
Well, I guess ultimately that's up to you, but the community grants are not for visitor experiences, they're for community. And so the application emphasizes that the service that's being provided is for visitors. There's a very small component that's about the community, which is that people sell their local crafts there. But I struggle to see the benefit of the information center to the community.
Good thing Hazel Harrison is here.
They do a great job, actually.
Yeah, well, they do a lot of work up there.
They're all
particularly in-
volunteers, and it's a freezing cold building, because I've done a few stints in there, and they do a really good job, and it's really the only place up there where people can find out anything they want to know. Everything from the fire emergency plan, maps to everything. I think it's really important.
Well, not talking about keeping it going, though, we're just talking about changing the money from one fund to another.
Well, I need it to keep going, so I guess if
Yeah, well,
it's,
if we've got money in the other fund, and we're not gonna be short, well, then just do it, are
I won't get it till the middle of the year.
we? They're gonna leave them short.
Oh, yeah. Julie's just going to read out the description.
So this is from your report, Ellie. So the promotions grant discussion says that the promotions grants provide funding that helps meet community needs, desires for events or activities that enhance the experience of locals and visitors. Funding is targeted to attracting people to visit, stay or reside in the area for the betterment of existing residents and ratepayers. Projects must align with core well-beings and also with the district's community outcome statements. So I guess if you feel it aligns with that.
Thanks, Julie.
So we do that, that means they get the money needed, funding them now.
No, I don't think we could do that. I think they would need to apply again to the promotions grant, and Ali would need to assess it.
So when do they?
So that would be, that round would be in March next year.
If the board wished to ask for this one to be considered as a promotions one, instead declining it because it might have just been a misunderstanding of which one they applied for.
Well, it's the reason they've applied to this one is because this is where the money's always come from.
Yes, so
It
that's,
has, yeah. And I'm just suggesting that I don't think it's the best fit. But if it is gonna come from a different fund, it does have to go through Ali, yeah. Yeah, we can't just transfer it over.
but the board could.
I don't know.
I'm assuming that would be possible. How much have they asked for, Nikki?
4,000.
Or that, the only portion I would put on there, if that would leave you a very limited amount for your funding round next year.
So let's just leave it where it is. It's been there all that time. Let's just leave it there. I mean, it does meet quite a lot of that criteria. Nothing's even going to meet all of it.
So I want 4,000 this year.
Yeah.
And we're going to take it out of which fund? Just to be clear, sorry.
Well, you don't have, well, it depends on what,
Which fund, sorry, which fund have they applied for?
they've applied to community grants.
Community grant.
We can quite happily give it to them out of the community grant, as we've always done.
It depends on your decisions. With my recommendations, there's not enough for 4,000 there. So that depends on what you decide.
But you had 5,000 in your promotion grant budget. You haven't allocated anything to, but if you take it from that, you won't have much left.
So how much have you got to give?
To my God, to give. Well, I've recommended $5,000 to the Ida Valley Pool Trust.
Yep.
And the regular 8,332 to the museum, which brings you to 13,332, and there's 15,000 available. So that would leave 3,660. 68.
Yep.
Possibly, I don't know, just did it in my head.
Have we not given the Otter Valley Pool Trust money out of our community trust funds?
Yes, they have received funding from the different trust funds, yep, 2,500 from each.
So is that not enough?
There,
It seems that that other money there could be. Do we have to give them again? That's what I guess I'm saying. How much we giving them?
I've recommend, they've asked for 10,000. The amount that they need to finish the pool is around 9,000. Hold on. Like 9,300 or something. So 9,567 is all they need to have secured 100% of the funds for the project. They've asked for 10,000. They initially asked for 20,000, then they secured some more funding, so they changed it to 10. And I think they've secured a bit more, so the total amount remaining is 9,567. And I've recommended 5 because that application aligns very strongly with the community grants criteria. And if 10 was available, I would have recommended 10. But it's not available.
So I'm just getting an update on numbers. So if the total amount was 15, and you were going, if you were thinking 8,332 to Maniototo Early Settler, and 4,000 to Naseby Information, that would leave 2,688. Sorry, 2,668.
Keeping in mind there's still another funding round early next year.
Yep.
Does that next funding round have not a lot of money associated with it, or it's just what's
This is it. Yeah. So if all the money is spent this time, then there won't be any money to distribute in the next round.
And if I may, this first round of applications has highlighted some challenges with policy. And so that grant policy will be reviewed beginning in November.
Yeah.
So there may be some slight adjustments to that, the next round. Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, we tried to get more allocated to our funding budget. This is the end, didn't we, earlier on? And it's historical about the claims we've had to rate for it. And now we've had a classic example where another couple of things have come up, like the pool. But to lift their average up makes it easier to rate for before, but that's the hard part about the grants policy is you can't accumulate the grants policy as funded. I guess the challenge is whether the pool fits the criteria when we've already given a grant out of our other.
There's a grant out of the MCB and a grant out of the.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've already given them.
Not from this fund.
Right, this fund.
But yes, they've received 5 from the 2 different trusts.
They've already got 5, and then even up to 5.
It's a big project. The total cost of the project is almost $87,000.
And they got a fair chunk from the cost pad, didn't they? And take
Yes.
community trust.
Yes.
I think that if you look at all 3 of them, the ones that it's, I mean, I'm not saying that the pool is really important, but a small number of people, it's only a small group of people that get benefited of it. I mean, you can't go and swim in the pool. But the Naseby things are open to everyone, visitors and locals alike, so it's a bigger expanse of benefit in the overall picture, if you know what I mean. I don't know, I just think it would be a shame to make those Naseby groups struggle to the point where.
Yeah, I'll be with you, fund the Naseby ones and whatever's left over, bits of that to fund the rest over the pool, but not the other way around.
Yeah. So if you knock $2,500 off the pool, 5 to 2,500,
Yeah.
and put the 2,500 into the into the information and craft.
Yeah.
Because it does, I know what you're saying about putting the criteria, but it does do a lot more than that as far as, well, you're saying.
Yeah.
And whether it's out of a promotions grant or
fall out of that, and it's still grass.
Well, the people that come to Naseby every year just to look around and be nosy, just because they can. You want to make them feel like they're welcome here and they want to come back. As they say, the Turihua pool, unless you're in the Turihua local, you can't swim.
And it's only,
Well, no, anyone can swim in the pool. Yeah, it is open for anyone to swim in the pool. And ultimately,
you
it
had
is
to get a
about the
key to get
local
in.
community.
yeah,
you do.
Yeah, you do, but anyone can get a key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that's right, but it's actually only the recovering, and we've still got a pool.
Yeah.
It's the recovering surface, which they were fundraising plenty, you know. I would be happy with what you've proposed.
Me too.
So that would be, let me think. That you go, your Ida Valley pool, 2,500. Then it's the early step museum was 8332. And what does the Naseby Information Craft Centre get?
So historically, they've gotten 2,441, and this time they've asked for 4.
But that doesn't really even cover half their expenses on the
No.
sheet, but they're renting them.
And we'd have 4,000 to give them.
8 and 4 is 12, 12, 3, 3,
14,800, spent 14,832. Yeah. And out of 15,000.
I guess if this is demand, sometimes we
Well,
don't have
yeah,
anyone.
yeah. There's plenty of times we don't get asked for anything.
And would you be happy for me to direct that group to the promotions fund in the future? Or do you want them to keep applying to this fund?
The promotions fund, is that the one Ally runs?
Yes, for visitors and visitor experiences. Because I feel that this application really doesn't align with this fund.
Yeah, well, the fact is if we've got to wait till, when do we do March, Ally, before we apply again?
Yeah, you wouldn't be making a decision on that until probably May.
So,
Yeah, so I'm just saying going forward in the future.
yeah, going forward in the future,
Yeah.
so that would come, would you be happy with that, Ally? It would fit your criteria?
They would need to, it would probably fall into the next financial year, I think, if they've got if they get funding through this
Yeah.
round, it would be.
Next financial year.
So just wondering if do you think it fits the promotion criteria? I mean, the other thing is we have a
It does,
brand
but
for these.
there's also another caution there, is that you've already got an information centre that's funded by the ratepayer here in Ranfurly.
Yeah.
That's just how that works well together or not. So it's just, there'll be some needing to understand.
Yeah. So the other question is, can you both fund the same thing with half each, like next financial year?
I mean, the funds are totally different, and this one doesn't fit this fund.
But the thing is, it's fitted this fund since 2000. Whenever. That's the trouble.
Yeah, but we have a new policy and a new criteria now.
I think it's been maybe in the transition to the new policy and the new criteria that perhaps there's been a bit of lost in translation there, and maybe if we had gone back to Naseby and redirected them earlier on, they could have been part of the right place for this one. So
Yeah. So I'm just wanting to clarify
Yep.
if we in the future if we direct them to that fund or if you want to keep bringing them to this fund.
It depends on how they're funding, how they need their funding.
Yes.
Well, Ali and I do our funds at the same time. We have the same funding rounds. Yeah.
Yeah, so long as they can get money to do it. That's what I'm saying.
Ultimately, that's up to you, I guess.
As long as we can say we're going to give them the money, because you just can't leave them out in limbo out there for a whole year with no money. Well, not enough money to run the place. When they do quite a bit of work in there, particularly in the school holidays, in the summer school holidays, there's people in there all the time. Not huge amounts, but they're always there, and they're always wanting to know what's happening, where everything is, and what's going on. Right.
And also the museum's only open for a very short time in the day, like it might be
Yeah.
2 hours or an hour and a half, whereas that area, that information is open for quite a long period of time. So it makes it's available during pretty much every day of the week.
Right, so anyone want to move the recommendation of the monies that we think about allocating?
Yeah, I will.
2,500 to Ida Valley Pool Trust. 8,332 to Early Settlers Association. 4,000 to the NASI Information and Craft. Right?
Yeah.
So Sue has moved that. Have a seconder, please.
I can do it.
Stuart Duncan, all those in favour? Aye, against? Carried, thank you. So Alec, sorry, Nicky, so next year, when they apply, will you forward them to Ali or?
Well, I will inform them now when I contact them that next year they should apply to the promotions fund, if that is okay. Yeah.
And I guess then the question raises, how do we get in there more capital in our grants policy? Because now we're getting more applications. It's better for us, because that was what my biggest concern was, when we do have 2 or 3 things, we haven't got enough in our grants policy. I don't know how we get more on. We can only do it after the fact, can't we?
More available funds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know Leanne, she jumps down Nick every time I suggest it, but if we had available funds, we'd be able to give the 4,000 or 3,000 or 5,000, and then we'll be able to apply to rate for it. I don't know how you get that solution, because really if we had more applications, maybe we could rate for a bigger pot, I guess I'm saying.
Yeah.
So to see how many we get over the next.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that we've got the applications, because I mean, then we can turn around over time and look at our grants policy or budget.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'll get any in the next round, since there's only $68 left or something like that. But yeah, next year will be next year's conversation.
Yep. Okay, thank you very much, Nikki.
Thank you.
Right. Where else? Have we got?
Oh, Maniototo Bridge update.
James,
Come on over.
how you going, buddy?
Good afternoon.
You're looking fairly.
You're looking relaxed at the moment.
Looks to be this evening.
Perhaps
It's
James,
relaxed.
we could do some introductions if you have time.
Yeah, for sure. So I brought along Shane Martin. He's our new senior road engineer. Come on board.
There you go.
You started July? Yeah, you started July. So comes from a good contracting practical background. So that's been very well received, isn't it, Shane? Yep, no, it has. And I've got Pradeep here with me, Pradeep Bra and Shay. Pradeep is one of our network engineers. So Pradeep's coming on today because we're going to check out some speed and changes proposed later on. So Pradeep's helping with that. But yeah, I'll take the report as read, and this really was a covering report. It was a report put forward to council a couple of weeks back regarding the Maniototo bridges as a result of the weather event in January, and also covered off the bridge strategy, which I think is relevant to have a quick update with you today also. So I guess firstly, in regards to the 3 Maniototo bridges, as the report outlined, there were principal inspections planned for Maniototo Road and Limburn Runs. The principal inspections are a very thorough and detailed inspection of the bridge. After the flood event happened, general inspections happened. That's where an engineer takes a look at all the access points they can practically get to on the bridge around the abutments. So principal inspections taking that to the next level, where they actually both access, ropes access. They take physical core samples of the beams, and it's with very specialised engineers in that field of work. So it's not just a subjective opinion. So unfortunately, we've had to postpone those a couple of times due to actual rain events bringing river up, which makes it a pointless exercise bringing in a specialist down when they can't see half of what they need to see. Obviously, COVID-19 lockdown further pushed that out, and then there was some quite unfortunate timing with the flood events in Marlborough and Canterbury, and the reality is when there's highway bridges, like Sebastopol and other areas, like lifeline bridges, unfortunately this has been pushed a little bit, which is a shame, but the reality is. Although both of those bridges have visible issues with their primary load-carrying timber beams, it is hoped that the inspection may result in them actually opening back up for light vehicles, At this stage, the principal speech is planned for later next week, obviously subject to which I understand the sticks might have got off lightly in this last weather, which is a good thing. So yeah, essentially once we have that principal speech undertaken, have an answer, and we'll like to be able to, well, it's not possible. As we know, the bridge on Scott Lane was actually physically washed away, so that's just a simple reinstatement. The remainder of the bridge that remains was already so heavily restricted, it just wouldn't be cost effective to put 2 or 3 sections back in. So what I've been working on in the background is with Becca, so bridging specialist consultant, and we're actually at the very tail end now of a feasibility study of what other cost effective options could go back in place. Vented culverts, washover forwards, talking with some of the landowners there. That is actually, they're on board with that. It's been quite well received in the phone calls I've had. I'm actually having a debrief tomorrow on that. And what we'll do with that report is we'll take that to the outcomes of that. We'll take that for a discussion with ORC. Essentially, there's no point spending a heap of money on design if regional council define it for things such as hydrology effects, interaction with river users, fish passage. There's lots of aspects that we need to clear off before we go and invest time and effort into a design on set option.
It should be a formality though, shouldn't it?
I hope so.
Have you ever worked the fishing game or regional council before?
Just trying to be positive.
So the process essentially for Limburg runs in Maniototo will be much the same once we get the result from the principal inspections. That'll set a path forward for how we approach it. I guess it's just worth noting, like when that actually event happened, we don't just have money sitting in an account to go and replace the brand new bridge as it happens. You know, it happened in the tail end of that financial year, and you know, I understand there's a frustration for people, but we don't just have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting there.
We've got a contestable fund for bridges, haven't we? $500,000 or something.
Yeah. Then again, you want to be careful how you tune into that. Julie may be able to comment a bit more on that, but I don't think you want to be chewing through that reserve fund.
We want to get a bit of an acorn and just be sitting.
$500,000 isn't a very big bridge, though, is it?
No, it's not really, no.
So
Stu was just suggesting, could we replace those bridges with emergency funds? And I'm sort of the opinion
No.
you probably wouldn't want to delve into that. You'd leave it.
they
for
won't get you.
Yeah.
But because the bridges already have, I would think it's highly unlikely that Waka would approve an application for that as an emergency work because the bridges were significantly degraded before the flood came along. So it would be a good, probably seen as being throwing it on a bit, I would imagine.
Yeah. So that kind of ties nicely into the bridge strategy. So I guess the Maniototo bridge closures, among other known bridge-related issues in the district, highlighted the importance of actually progressing a overall district-wide bridge strategy. So that would be a plan for the replacement, renewal, and disposal, I guess, of all bridges in the district. It's a consideration of the required level of service for existing bridges and potential replacement of some bridges with more cost-effective options, much like we're talking about, say, Scott Lane. It's a large piece of work. It will take some time to fully compile, and there's never been an overall bridge strategy to this detail before. It's a comprehensive document, and it's a clear path going to how we manage bridges in these situations. The indicative timeline for the bridge strategy would be early stages of the bridge strategy, and inspections are actually underway at the moment. So we're having our engineers inspect every single bridge in the district over the coming months. We're anticipating that should be completed by March 2021. We're anticipating to go out for consultation with community boards and the public early 2023. As I say, it's a large piece of work to pull this together. And the final bridge strategy would be approved indicatively mid-2023. And I welcome questions relating to this.
Sorry.
Sticks bridge.
Yeah, Lindbergh.
The top sticks, the bottom.
Bottom top.
Yeah, by the Elliott.
Top.
That's the top one. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
You're not going to, are they actually going to fix it?
Potentially. Once again, we need to, I'm speculating, I need to see what the experts use. There may be a path to fix that cost effectively, and then if we mistake light vehicle access for a period of time, as I say, I'll wait and see what the engineers come back with, but happy to provide an update soon if I've got it.
longer term, they're probably on borrowed time, aren't they, those?
Yeah.
Well, I would have thought that top bridge was on more than borrowed time. You haven't been able to drive over that for 30 years, if anything heavy.
Yeah.
It's
So-
holding up by railway lines, really.
Yeah, they're looking at, under 3.5 tonne.
Yeah. That's a very big asterisk beside that, you know, whether that's actually achievable or not, but I guess hopefully this time next week I'll have an idea.
Between cars and ute.
Yeah.
Between cars and ute.
Side by sides, four wheels, things like that.
Yeah.
Potentially light stop movement, but
So the maintenance on the bridges, the funding for the maintenance, do NZTO give you a set amount of money every year to do maintenance on bridges?
Yep.
Is that anything structural or is that just?
it does cover structural component replacement, but like highlight the importance of the bridge strategy. Going forward, how we deal with it. I've only seen 10 years, 12 months, so
Yeah.
maybe
I
Julie
can
can touch
probably
on
add to that. We get money for maintenance and we get money for renewals. But the amount of money that we get for that, and it was us, when you split that out across the number of bridges we've got, I think at one point we had a couple of $100 per bridge for maintenance.
it would be about the same.
Almost
ratio.
cost you that much to get the contractors there before they start to actually doing things. So we've been in a very challenging situation. And what we started to identify was that parts of bridges needed to be replaced. And then we identified that you don't want to replace the deck and then come back 3 years and replace the beams that are underneath the deck. So actually, that's why we need a strategy. And I think the strategy will help support our case for increased funding from the New Zealand Transport Agency, because we have struggled at times to get increased funding for bridge maintenance.
And I guess this isn't like a unique problem to this council, this district. There's other councils involved with significant bridging deficiencies and issues, and I guess lack of strategy. So,
Does the strategy going to tell us how we look at the funding as well?
It will identify how much funding is required and help inform discussions around what an appropriate path forward is, because if we look at one bridge in isolation, it might seem like a really good idea to do quite a massive upgrade on it. But if you realise that 50% of your bridges need that kind of money spent on it, then the affordability of that for the broader community, even with Whakatane, becomes quite a challenge. So you have to ask, does every bridge have to be maintained to the same level of service, or would washover forwards be okay in some cases when there's an alternative route that you can use when the river's high? And would it be better to replace some maybe timber bridges that are have posting limits on them with a structure that is flood washover structure and not have a restriction?
people's appetites in those areas to go to a slightly reduced level of service. I guess Scott Lane's a good example with the residents I've spoken to. They're actually okay with driving the longer way when the river's in flood, and they can't use a more cost-effective structure. So, yeah, it's looking at alternative options, you know, where bridges.
And you need to do that at an equity level, because you have to think, what's the alternative route if you do this here, and what's the route for if you end up with two bridges that are timber bridges that are flood proof, but actually neither of them can carry a heavy vehicle. You haven't actually, you've just created another problem. So it's thinking about heavy vehicles, resilience to weather, and keeping a route available at all times to all sorts of.
There's 176 bridges in the infrastructure and all that, something like
179.
179, you count a couple more.
And I think the other thing to realise, and this is similar to many councils, you know, following, was it the Westfield War, they had huge investment in roading networks, and particularly built bridges all over the country, and so timber bridges, and so they're coming to the end of their life all over the country. And transport needs to change. You know, driving 10Ks in those days versus driving 10Ks today is quite a different
Just
proposition.
look at the evolution of trucks for a start. You
Yeah.
know, big
Well, all sold up 50 tonnes.
Yeah, it's 50 now, and bridging obviously hasn't kept up with that.
And there's also questions that need to be thought about around the use of what the bridge needs to be used for. So if we are keeping a bridge for public transport use, the factors of safety that we have to build into that are significantly higher than what a private individual might need if they were just using it for stock and farm access. And so there might be some other solutions in some cases that would provide a better outcome overall.
And I guess, yeah, not to make excuses, but the pool of structural engineers that specialise in timber structures that we need to do that work is quite small for the South Island in general. So, you know, that has been a challenge, and we're working through that.
Yeah, so what I was really trying to get with repairs for structure was if you get X amount of money a year for structural work, can't you just go and say, rightio, this bridge needs
We
new
spend
abutments.
Yeah.
we spend the budget every year.
Yeah.
in South Island.
So you're just obviously working around bridges that
Yeah.
you're saying that other.
But what is the budget, James? It's not very high, is it?
I wanna say
It
that
used to get about
$250,000
$200,000 a year for structural renewals.
Been
But,
increased
you're not
to
going to,
250
yeah.
for the next 3-year period or so.
So just keep that. That's sort of $250,000.
Ultimately, with this report, with this strategy, we're going to work out how
A clear path going.
how
Deal
we're
with
going to
these
fund some of them, some of them maybe through borrowing, some maybe through subsidy, more subsidy from government than.
I think what we're going to identify is what it's going to cost and what the community wants. And then as part of the long-term plan funding discussions, that's when you decide how you fund these things.
Because I mean, even through the LTP, we flagged a couple of bridges in there. The significant spend, Owncow, Little Valley, to year to end. So the rest, so yeah.
You know, get them going and build.
It's not an easy solution, all right, no matter what you do.
What's the nation?
It's just that at some stage, some of these people, well, these people want, ratepayers just want some answers. They go, when, I think it's like was it the Hills Creek Road Bridge at Chirihua? How many years has it been light traffic? 3-4 years? A while, 3 or 4 years, and you've got Agnew Road on the other side of the Chirihua that you no longer can take a truck and trailer over. So you got a 10K trip that way and a 10K trip that way to get out. And all these farmers are going, when are you going to fix one of our bridges?
Yep.
It's, yeah, because you can't get round what they call, what's they call that creek, Swamp Road, round through there when it's wet. You just can't get round with a truck and trailer. So they've got to go all the way out to Hills Creek, down there, and it's wet enough coming down through there. They need a truck and trailer.
And that's a classic example where probably a washover structure would give you heavy vehicle access.
Yes.
And at an acceptable level of service for most of the time.
Well, the biggest problem at Phillips Creek is when they cast that bit of road yield on the other side of the main. They lifted the road about 300 or 400. So now when the water comes up, they can't get over the road and under the bridge. It's just going to go through the bridge.
Yes.
Things like that was when things like that are done, you go, well, hang on, who's in charge?
Yes, but furthermore, Julie's comment, the path we want to steer it is more cost-effective structures. It's really the best path forward for us.
Well, I don't think about
But
what I'm saying is that when they fix up a bit of road and they tar seal it and they say we lift up the road 300 or 400 to get it away from the water, and the water can't get over the road again. And the bridge blows out and people go put their hands up and you go, it wasn't our fault.
Yeah, and I think probably at the time there's been people maybe involved who haven't understood that the roads of the bridges have been designed for that flooded rivers to flow around the sides of them. And that's why they have those dips.
Well, the Southburn was a classic one of that when they dug the culverts out on the other side. When Lynn McNeely was in charge of the council, they dug the culverts out so the water couldn't get under the road, and they tar sealed all that road 20-something years ago. And and that's what they did. But now there's no culverts here, and they wonder why the bridge keeps washing out. Well, the water can't get under the bridge anymore, and it can't get over the road because all that was taken out.
Is that at Paddy Road?
Yeah, there used to be culverts all through there to get rid of the water, and they took them out. The engineer come along. It was
before my
time.
time.
What was that? What was the consultant?
It would have been Fred Lewa.
Yeah, but who was the consultant?
Duffel Watson.
Yeah, Duffel Watson King. The guy coming along and still cut the culverts out. You don't need them. Build the road up. So the water can't go over the road. And look what happens every time we get a flood, it washes the road out.
Where's he now, that fella?
Oh, they'll be Probably does.
So we give them a ring.
You and us.
Send Harry around.
It's Maniototo Road Bridge, horse forward, the rivers and floods and the bridge is high and dry. You can get it, you can get it this end, but the other side of it could be knee deep water or waist deep water.
Well, that's the idea, so you can get over in a tractor and if you have to.
That's right, and that's where the outcome of the inspection sets the path for what we can sell. We will entertain that conversation with ORC about horse forward, what we could potentially do. That's probably the next challenge with our in terms of fish species hydrology.
Yeah, but what I want to just keep going back to is who's, when they say we're going to build the road up, who's saying we build the road up so the water can't go over the road anymore? It's going to go the bridge. It's like the washover culvert on Link Road. I mean, they build up over the concrete washover culvert, so the water now has to go over the road and wash the road out every day.
When you say Link Road, which?
Naseby, off the highway.
Smith Road.
Smith Road, is it?
Oh, okay.
Round through there.
So on the highway, okay.
No, you turn off the highway to go to Naseby.
Shortcut.
Shortcut road, Link Road, that's it.
Go from Wedderburn to Naseby, go across.
Yeah, I know.
You know, they built that up, well,
It's
300 on top of the concrete's still there.
When would this happen? Just
20 years ago.
Yeah, it could have been 20 years ago.
Like before
you
my-
don't.
But I guess what,
James, I'm certainly not.
Still think.
what Robert's saying is the structure was perfectly good before, and then the contractor lifted the road and put gravel over top of the concrete washout
I
structure.
mean, you get a small lift, like remettling, for example, so you're generally trying to keep it in.
Oh, I think you should go for a drive and have a look
Yeah.
and just see how much gravel there. In the last one there, I scraped all the gravel off, so the water came on, the contractor came on, put all the gravel back, so now the digger goes in there every
Is
month.
this where the two concrete culverts are? That we have to clear from time to time?
No, it's
Time to time.
It's Gimmer Naseby Road. That one.
That's Gimmer Naseby. That's another one that's been built up, so the water can't get over the road.
They make it sort of like that.
Just things like that, people make these decisions and you go, even he would go along and go, why would you do that? Even he. You know what I mean? You just look and think, why are you doing that? You just think,
Have we put a list together and if you, yeah, say, I've been here 12 months.
yeah, I know, I'm not, yeah, I'm sorry.
A lot
But what
of
I'm
this
saying
predates
is that at
me,
some
but-
stage, someone has to go,
Yeah.
they say, well, it's my fault, I built the road up.
And your defence, James, I've been here 20 years. Just
So it's all her fault.
And I don't know about these, so.
But I
think
welcome,
because-
like, I'm happy to look at it.
Even one day around, we need to drive around.
Yeah.
Until the gang come down, we'll go for a ride, go around.
Yeah, no, I was welcome it.
But yeah, sorry, back to Bridges, so how long will this maintenance strategy plan is gonna take, did you say, sorry?
It's-
So we're in the early stages of putting it together now and getting the full district-wide inspections of all bridges, all 171. Consultation, we're looking early 2023. If we get ahead of schedule, it could be late 2022. But as I say, it's a big piece of work. It's not something I can pull together in a couple of months.
Yeah.
And I guess indicative timeframe to have it approved in place mid 2023.
And the worst case scenario for that is some of those bridges will be removed, won't they?
I guess if that's a palatable option and we would consult on it, then yeah, that could be an outcome, definitely. Probably too early to speculate, really, to
Yeah.
pull it all together, but
And
in
what
some
I would
cases, potentially.
say it won't, we'll be asking the community for input on any of those decisions. It won't be something we start.
That leads me to my question, what do we ask them? Do you want the bridge upgraded? Like, I mean, I'm not,
We'll put options up.
Yeah.
Typically when we're, I think this will be quite an iterative process where there's maybe some workshops with the communities to ask them what they value, what's important, what do they, if trade-offs have to be made, what are the things that trade off, you know. And like I said, there's a lot of choices around having structures that are available most of the time, but not in a high river flow or carry heavy vehicles, or you know, if you've got to drive 5 kilometres further, but you can get a heavy vehicle and have a better access the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Do you value that more, or?
I guess, what do you think there?
Oh, that's right, because
The
what,
public are gonna want all the bridges back to 100%
Exactly.
for the whole lot.
yeah,
And I agree that if you can get over a bridge like that 90% of the time,
Yeah.
Well, I
the
think it would
council's done
actually
well.
be a lot higher than 90. I think you're talking in the 99%.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
like quite
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I
You
looked
wouldn't
at
go over Hall's Ford 90% of the time when it's flooded, because it's quite often underwater.
the approach would be underwater.
The approach
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah,
It's not so much construct. So that's, I suppose, where we're seriously looking into more cost effective around that, and I guess get people with the services.
And
They
ultimately-
may be willing to change.
we'll at council make the decisions.
That's right.
Ultimately, I mean, like consultation processes, this is options 1, 2, 3, and 4, like we do consult a lot on a lot of things, but really, the council will make the decision when it comes down to.
But you get that feedback from
Yeah,
the community to help inform the
Right, that's
decision.
exactly what Robert said, they'll say, we want all the bridges,
Yeah.
we want it up to that, and they're not gonna get it.
At least put the strategy, okay, we
Yeah,
want more than
that's
this is the cost.
Yeah,
This is an accurate representation.
A good
of the cost.
example of the differences in levels of service are the Earnscrew area, which has all the fruit growing down there. There's a lot of truck access into that area, particularly through the summertime. They heading through to Cromwell and up the Lindis. They have to come back to Alex to go round because the Clyde Bridge doesn't take those vehicles. And the community by and large considers that's acceptable. In fact, the residents of Clyde are quite adamant they don't want them going through Clyde. So, you know, there's quite differences in levels of service across the district already and what the expectation is.
Well, if I lived in Clyde, I wouldn't want to sit the fruit trucks going up the road all day.
No, but we expect them to drive round through Alex. So they are expected to detour for other reasons, but, you know, there's places in the district, like you get up into getting out to the sticks or on Nobby, up in the Nobby range, there's only one road in and one road out. Those bridges need to be, there's not a lot of choice around what the level of service for those bridges are, but there's other places where there's multiple routes that you could have one really secure route and a couple of others that were downgraded at a lower cost.
I think some people around here too be quite happy to replace the bridge and wash over culvert, and they can get over 90-something% of the time. And they can take a tractor and side it over.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And
rather than bridges, they're gonna drop to under 3K.
It is
3
very-
tons sort of thing.
It is very infrequent when, like, in the case of Scott Lane, I'm familiar with that with the river flow monitoring. It's actually very occasionally you wouldn't be able to use that structure to get across, looking at the actual evidence. So, you know, it's.
We want to be
it's not a
smart,
massive-
some of them just start at home a bit more as well, instead of getting a coffee in the hand, we've got the kids off.
Leave you to make that point.
Go for life, I won't be standing behind you.
There's a lot of tires getting chewed up around the Maniototo and big trucks.
So yes, a challenge going forward in the near future is how we take this to approach OIC and get, I guess, grant permission to get build cost-effective structure in waterways. And that's particularly easy in some cases, but I would like to give you guys an update once I have got some feedback on the feasibility and options we're looking at.
Yeah. So the other question is, can you rate within council for more money for bridges, like for?
Yeah, they could undertake more work without Wakakatahi subsidy. But if we do a strategy that shows we're providing good value for money and a well-considered plan, no reason to not expect funding for that.
Yeah, I mean, if people want bridges and you say it's going to cost you an extra $100 in your rates every year.
Will be a lot more than that.
Well, yeah, whatever. I mean, just
for
part.
We
part
put the
subsidy.
strategy together and we pulled out the cost for the exact status rate. It'll be quite a high watering number, I would imagine.
Yeah, it will be a high watering
And-
number.
I think the appetite for 100% bridge access at times will change.
But we're not gonna know that till, we're not gonna know that
Exactly.
till we have that done.
That's right.
Yeah. Then that's, that's our job, isn't it? Get that there, make the decisions.
Roughly speaking, in the case of Limber and Maniototo, you're probably talking $500,000 each bridge, roughly very numbers. So, yeah, here's $1 million just like that, 2 bridges.
I thought $500,000 would have been cheap. The one
Yeah,
that's
oh, yeah,
happened, it's
exactly.
$500,000, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a simple standing.
Exactly.
It's a 60. It was a high rate. It was rated top.
It was a concrete bridge.
Yeah, it's been.
So that's our job.
Yeah.
between the roads and sewage and wastewater and bits and pieces of museums, so if that's what it is, that's what it is.
Anything else?
Right.
Right, so option one, has everyone read it?
So I think this is just a report.
It's just-
information.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not
Yeah.
just-
Oh, no, we don't.
I'll move it. Report be received.
Just a report to council.
Move anything
Yeah,
I'll
just
move report received.
Does anyone got any more questions for James while he's sitting in the hot seat? Sweating away.
About roads.
I am here for the rest of the day, so if Robert, yeah, for now, good.
I don't want to do you want?
Yep, that's all right. So if someone move that report be
Move
accepted.
report be received.
Second, Duncan, now, all those in favour? Aye, yes, very, thank you. Thank you, James.
Cheers.
All right, Wayne.
I'll take the report as read. This is the 2022 meeting schedule. And you'll see the calendar there, page 42. Not too much to discuss there. All of the regular meetings for Maniototo are on Thursdays. You'll see one there on the 23rd of May. Possibly there may be hearings, I'm not sure. So possibly that day. But other than that, happy to answer any questions if there are any.
So show date, will that be on the, it's always a Wednesday, isn't it? It must be the day before the meeting on February.
I don't know. Who knows about show day?
Show's usually Wednesday.
Yeah, so it must be the 16th, so that's the day after, because remember last time I was on show day.
Was it?
Yeah, we'll need to change.
That's how far ahead Sue is on the job, aren't you?
Right,
It's a Maniototo show day.
NP show.
Sure.
set that,
What I'll do is I'll check, so that's not going to clash. Before we take it to council.
yeah, because if it's the 16th, do you want the meeting the day after?
Well, that's,
Some of you guys will still be a bit ill, won't you?
Hey.
3 is all.
um,
Two.
Back
I'll check that day.
What's two?
Those two.
Not necessarily.
What do you mean not
A
necessarily?
very good chance, but not necessarily.
I was saying, if it's on the 16th, do you want to have your meeting on the 17th? Is gonna make no problem? You won't be
They'll be right
fighting
by
up
then, they'll be right by then.
Well, it is on the 17th according to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying his show day is on the 16th. Possibly. The second, third week, isn't it?
Those impairs recovery here. Well, yeah.
You always had trouble getting up off the ground after you jumped on you.
Right, moving on.
Right, so you want someone to move that way?
Can you move A and B, please?
Right, someone move that be accepted, please. Mark Harris. Second, please.
Yep.
Stuart Duncan, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Very, thank you. The mayor's not here. That's good. We'll make it even quicker. I haven't done too much. I see we're having a thing about speed signs because Andrew Blue talked to me about the other day about bloody how he wrote slow down on his hay bales, like trying to slow people down. Coming on there.
Coming into town.
Yeah. The Christmas tree, Wayne, what were we, can you just remind me for the community, not the community, the business group, they wanted a Christmas tree at $8,000?
Yep. So Wardy's talked to, I've forgotten her name, sorry. Who,
From the paint and hard,
no, it's someone who knew who's looking after that project now,
on the business group, Stu.
on the business group.
Yeah, it was related to paint and hardware, but now it's. Yeah, anyway, carry on. I was there.
Anyway, they're planning fundraising Christmas this year, and then looking to maybe apply for a grant next year with a view of having everything together for 2022. So that's that's where they are right now.
Sounds reasonable. We've got a grants thing, haven't we? Yeah. We can send it to Ali.
We're getting $64.
Perhaps it's in the next financial year.
Right.
If you want.
So Stu and I and the mayor and everyone were up in Naseby the other day looking at the possibilities for clean water in another rain event. We looked up in the swimming dam there and the old dam beside the swimming dam, if you know where that is, Sue. Mark, you know, it's about tidying that up and fixing it up, and having clean water in it at all times. But the only real issue there you can see is that it's above Naseby, right above Naseby. So imagine if an engineer turns up, they're going to go, uh-oh, and he bursts that. So depending on how much water they hold these days, isn't it, James? I can't. It used to be 3 metres of water, didn't it? I think it changed a bit.
I do roads, mate.
Pardon?
I deal with roads.
Yeah, it's not nice.
It's been a few years since
I haven't got any of this cop out stuff.
Well, no.
So we're looking at that.
Scared you'll hold me to it.
We wouldn't do that. We had quite a good discussion about it. The other thing we brought up was running a pipeline, like a 63 mil from Culpit Dam. It's 1 point, in the straight line, it's about 1.6 k's. Hawkton Irrigation were quite happy to make sure there was always clean water in it. You know, they could fill it up before it got dirty. It's always full, and just put a big pump at the other end. The irrigation company were reasonably happy that the water line could follow the irrigation line, water race. And I spoke to Paul Hart about it, and he was going to talk to his hierarchy about it, but he couldn't see a problem if we went straight through in places. So that's one of the ideas from there, or Hoffman's. And the other one we were talking about, I was talking to Ken Bruce the other day, was actually taking it from Hawes Dam there at Welcome and Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a lot closer, and whether or not they could look at getting the water from the dam straight into the water lines, the water mains. You know where Hawes Dam is, Mark?
No.
You know where Welcome is Hill. You know where Jared George used to live?
Yeah.
Right in there.
Oh, and
There's
there.
a dam in there.
Yeah.
It's right at the top. It's not used for anything. And that Hawkton Irrigation think they own it.
Which is about Naseby as well.
Yeah, but it goes the other, well, it's always been there, but it goes the other way.
Goes down the gully.
They think they own it. They don't know if they actually own it.
So you've got to return it to the treatment plant under gravity.
Through the water main.
What would stop people using the water main?
I don't know if you can get it back down the water main. All these engineers should know.
I think, if I can add,
Yes, keep going.
on Monday, we are having a workshop to discuss what the outcomes are we want to see for the water supplies for the Maniototo, not just being Naseby, but Renton and Pettyrow as well. So I think all of those things are worthy of further investigation. I think we probably want to be really clear on what it is we're trying to achieve across all 3 years though, because sometimes we jump to us, we're discussing this in the office today, actually what happens is we jump to solutions and we create a different problem. And so we want to make sure we think about it more holistically. So that definitely they are worth raising when we get to the solutions part of Monday.
And I was just bringing it up to make sure everyone knew what we've been talking about up there. So that's another thing, because Naseby are quite adamant that they need more water storage. It's as simple as that. So that's something else that can be discussed. Where else are we? I see the glass crush is going to get going soon, Julie. I was reading on the other day. So they don't just crush all glass. What about bottle tops and stuff?
So it has magnets in it that takes bottle tops
It
out.
does, so you don't have to worry about chucking the bottle.
Oh, we'd rather
bottle.
you didn't.
Probably a bit more accurate, yes.
Please don't put your
Well,
slice of lemon inside your beer bottle. That doesn't help much either. But to be honest, there are minor things that come through in the glass collection. There's an awful lot of other stuff in the glass that shouldn't be in the glass. But it'll certainly give us options for reuse of the glass from the strict and restrictions we get. So we're really quite excited about it. We'll have a big hurrah when we get it up and going. The only problem at the moment is we're waiting for a component of it to come from overseas. Obviously, anything come from overseas remains a challenge. So
you're going to crush the glass and put it in the gravel?
we'll be putting it in the gravel.
Roading.
All gravel. For lining trenches, for pipes, roading gravels potentially.
Normally it goes in 80/40.
What was it?
It goes in 80/40.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite good bedding material, it's good as around drains. It's all basically sand, really.
Well, that was the other option, was crush and put back in the Cooper River and just go back to see a sand.
Might need a resource.
Well, yeah, but someone brought that up, if you put it back in a river, and it ends up back as a sand.
That's where it came from.
Yeah. But is it true that the glass that we get in New Zealand comes from Saudi Arabia or something like that, it's a different sand?
No
It's an
idea.
imported sand to make the glass?
No way.
I'm not sure about that.
Now, have a discussion, I talked to James about Reserve Road, about the farmers having to pay to grade the council roads. You talking to Julie about it, or?
No, it wasn't. I just thought.
It's just that it was, they were paying for the road to be graded. So I got on to about grading regularity and how often roads are graded. And West Uber Dam Road has been graded, I think, 2 times in the last 6 weeks, and no one uses it. There's one farmer goes up there, and you wouldn't worry about him either.
The road looks quite good, because I went up there and had a look at the washout there.
Yeah.
It's a good road.
Yeah, but nobody uses it, where you've got Reserve Road, it's got 3 farmers on that, 3 farmers on it, or 4. And they've been paying to have it graded for the last, I'm not putting you on the spot here, or anything, but I'm just saying, they're paying to have it graded.
The West Uberon one sounds a bit.
We'll look into
Bizarre.
that.
But
Yeah.
all we get
Looking
is
for
track, so we can soon.
Yeah.
roll them around.
Christine looking for pigs.
We're,
You
we
wouldn't,
are
you wouldn't
looking
grade that farmer's roads, that.
options for managing the grading program so that we can get that, because we do spend a lot of money on grading.
The only thing I'm just thinking, they might come in with the pylon work.
No pylons up there, not West Uburn.
Yeah, they go to all of the forestry, they do those and get marked down.
They grade right up into the Uburn
Yeah,
Dam. and up
they'll
to
turn
the
around
dam
and
road.
they'll stop them.
It's the air contract getting GPS track, so we can soon work out if it's ag rated, it's been there twice, and I'll be asking questions if they have in that time frame, but it doesn't sound right to me. But
He was up there the other day, and
The road,
he'd
the road
been
is
in
good.
there earlier, and he'd been in just before the rain, and he came in again.
so we obviously give our trackers their grade around this time of year ready for fishing season, so there's been some sort of crossover.
Yep.
But I think it doesn't sound like it.
Well, you can't get the Falls Dam road graded more than once or twice a year, is what I'm getting at, but it's a well-used road. There's a lot of people in there all year round going fishing and hunting and staying in their huts. But, I noticed the brooms are getting well sprayed. Who's in charge of that? They're doing a good job. It's dying quite well. And what else was I? And that's about it. Thank you very much. No questions for me, please? No? Do I have to move that one?
Yeah.
So I move that be report be accepted, please.
Yep.
Cinder. Mark Harris, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried, thank you. Members' reports. Sue?
I and you and I went to the playground consultation meeting.
Yep.
Uh,
I did too.
Did you? You later. It's a horrible day, and not many people turned up. Well, not many anyway. But it was good. Good. Good to talk to everybody and hear a little bit about what the budget is, and hopefully, they'll come back with some good suggestions. I think the people I spoke to kind of felt that the need was for some equipment for older kids, which I think is a really good idea. That was all right. And then and I was driving around today, Stu, the back loosened paddock that we're tendering has been sprayed and through something. Do you know anything about that? So I was really surprised. Kind of looked over the one closest to the road growing loosened, and the one at the back is brown as a.
I think it's barley roads or something going on
Is
there.
it? So quite surprised because I figured that they'd wait to see outcomes of the.
I don't know, I just heard the
Yeah,
on,
I can believe it.
driving around there,
You're going around fibre group, right?
yeah. I was just going and checking. It's barley roads.
You're
Is
right.
it? Yeah, I thought it might be something else.
Tuesday night, fibre group practices, 5 minutes.
Yeah, the one that's, oh, it's up to tender, isn't it?
I suppose the time tender process and the council's done, they'll have the crop off it, we're still gonna sell it now.
Yeah.
When does it happen? I don't know.
They'll do it at the end of the crucian, which will be, will they? Tender.
Well, it's been sprayed, it's in.
Oh, yeah, yeah, when they, it would have been done in March, or something, next year, the tender was,
No, it's in March, I said.
you know, I mean, when they set the tender.
Oh, well, it'll be in here later on, anyway, but.
Yeah, but it'll be March before they.
Before it changed hands again.
Yeah,
March or June, by the time the.
Yeah, if you do it by the book, you don't put Lucian straight back in.
No, you have something in
You
between.
want sort of 2 or 3 years before you go back and release them. Things around that.
Things you talk to, yeah.
Yeah, some guys play it out, straight back in, they're good luck. Other guys have disasters. Something to do with, nitrogen fixing of the plant.
Oh,
Things on them.
the only other thing is, I don't know if anyone else has had this, but Tyrone Street, being mainly where the hospital is quite narrow. The seal is quite narrow. There's a lot of heavy traffic now. From the trucking companies, from the tractors, from the deliveries to the hospital. And if you happen to be coming and be going, you have to actually leave the road because there's curb and chilling on one side and then there's that grassy bit and a bit of a strip on the end. A lot of the time you have to actually go onto the grass to get, so they can get past it. And some people just drive down there as if it's one way. And if you've got this much gap between the curb and the car coming towards you, they'll go off anyway because it's not wide enough. So I just wondered whether that needs to be looked at. It's obviously a minimum width, but at the moment,
Yeah, sure, once you get up, Moorfield Street, I think.
yeah, it gets a little bit wider.
Fraser Ave, I think it's.
Yeah, it's just, yeah,
Geez, that's
it's from there down to the dump corner really. It's really quite narrow. So, and then now that all that trucking and contracting is around the corner, there's a lot of it goes along there. Yeah.
Lucian Paddock sign.
Yeah, well, it's right. It doesn't matter what you are, even if you're just a car, they can't get past you. Like the delivery truck to the hospital is huge and it takes up pretty much all of it. So whether someone could have a look at that. That would be good. That's about it for me.
You see, Mark,
No, it's very quiet.
you try smiling at people more and be friendly and they might talk to you.
Some comments I get from you don't include me, it's not too much in there.
Just ignore me like you used to.
Well, you sent me a nice text the other day trying to make me do some underhand comments. It's a good job I read something about all this fishing before.
What?
Well, it'd be weird if someone didn't send you a text, an email to do something because you're in a meeting or something.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, they've done that to you as well.
No, he did it to me, but it was too polite, so I knew it wasn't him.
I got it as well.
So, did you let the IT people know that? Was it from our?
No, I just deleted it.
Yeah, we've had it from, and council actually, that they use Sanchia's email to tell us to go and do things.
No, it was one from him, but it was too polite, so I knew it wasn't him. Deleted it.
Thanks, guys.
But mention discretion, too, it's not a great.
Yeah.
See why I do it? You see why I do it?
It just was wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's this me.
Thank you, Duncan.
I got nothing much either, really. All I had written down was roads, and that I got come out of the winter pretty good. Been mild winter though, so that seems to be good. Nick ones I've been travelling on anyway. I've been around, and there's a lot of brown broom around, so I've done a good job on that too.
Oh, yeah, yeah, really good job, really. Everywhere you go, it's here.
Yeah,
Great.
and
Except
only
the
other.
domain.
Pardon?
Except the domain. It's pretty green on the domain.
It's still growing down there for
Stadium.
And down
the,
here.
So that's parks. Does that come under parks?
Yeah.
Won't be roading, will it? You'll be happy.
Yeah, past the squash course.
Yeah, and out on the, it's getting quite established. This,
Oh, by the old skating dam.
yeah, before there, yeah,
Oh.
when where that loading bank thing was, and then about
Yeah.
another 20 metres into the, towards where the yards are. It's quite, it's getting quite a good little crop there.
Roads because the music program for the last 2 seasons has been predominantly in Maniototo, so there's a lot of main roads bridging. That's good people.
No, I think one phone call, someone grizzling about the boil water notices every time it rained, but there hasn't been one this time, so.
Well, it's quite,
We'll just add, we are running off reservoirs in a couple of places in the district, which is water is dirty enough that if we start going for it,
Oh, yeah.
we will need
I wondered about that.
So. And luckily there's not a lot of just.
But that's that one.
The only place there is broom on the road is, end corner of it.
Link Road's got a bit, but it's well off.
Up behind Naseby. That's the road that goes,
Russell Road.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of broom at the other end of that.
Which road?
Big and whistle. Goes up, comes out.
We got it on Little Kyber and River Road. I think.
Rivers. Stargazing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you hang a left and go right out there.
Don't take the car.
Yeah.
Lot of the other end of that.
There's a bit on Link Road, but that's well off the road. It might not even be.
But if it's spraying.
There's some on Tyrone Street, they didn't do Tyrone Street this year, it's coming back where, moment, they didn't do Tyrone Street, they've done it the last few years and they've just left it this year, so it'll be back again.
They might not have got clean yet.
Oh, you reckon?
There's one I've seen somewhere that have been mowing around.
Good.
It may still be spraying.
No, that's about me.
Right, thank you. Stuart.
Yeah, been probably quite busy. Had a lot of council meetings and workshops. Probably since the last meeting, Tracy and I went with James around Clyde and the development done up there, so it was quite a good day out. But I'll see you next Monday, or next Wednesday, pre-roading agenda meeting for next thing, but just while everyone's talking about that, I think it's been noticeable in the last couple of years, everyone's roads have been a lot better, so there's all the roading team and Julie and all you guys, well done. So it's nothing better than getting positive talk when you are around your roads, and we've had a few big flood events and that, so it's always good to have it positive for all of us, because I know Tracy and I are pretty passionate about the rural roads and start to get it a bit sometimes, but it's good. And but that Clyde, I'm up there the other day and had another look, it's good. So there's plenty going on, not just around here in rural roads and footpaths, and so that's all good. Yeah, Three Waters has just taken a massive chunk and it's taken a lot of wind out of the sails of the councillors, I would suggest, and the staff. It's a big, ever moving table, and I would suggest we had a pretty distraught mayor after the last couple of meetings he had with their groups with NISA who are in the government. So there's some, at that level, I think a lot's moving quite quickly. I'm not sure there's a lot more talk going on that maybe at our next level is not involved with, especially with how they're going to go, but I think it's going to be mandated, and I think it'll be mandated by the end of October. That's my gut feeling. I don't know if I'm right, but it's going to be quite a pushback no matter who you talk to on the rail trail anywhere. There's a whole lot of people got an opinion on Three Waters. But that's been a big part of our workshopping, and a lot of online workshops and stuff, presentations and government. The biggest concern I would have with the government at the moment, Three Waters, are not answering a lot of our questions. And a lot of it, you know, you go right into the spatial plans, what happens to them, and there's a whole lot behind it we don't see, but it's been interesting. Those online workshops are quite good. Other than that, not too much else is happening. This COVID thing's looking like it's going to create an issue going forward. I don't know how that is. And someone told me, well, not someone, but a sister in the medical game, they reckon we could be looking down the gun and having some of this in 2 or 3 weeks in the South Island. That would be a disaster if it happened, but when you've got some of the underworld sneaking around and doing what they're doing and what moves about. You saw the other day someone in Queenstown, didn't they, that come through, they've got their isolation themselves, but that would be a tricky thing if we get it, I think.
I don't blame them too.
Yeah. But so that would be interesting to see how we do our business, and all the stuff we're getting going now and all the Three Waters debate and all the council, whether we go into lockdown or whether we don't go into lockdown, so. And, no, other than that, it's been pretty full on, but I say most of it's been Three Waters and stuff, so. And, even with the COVID, there was a couple of councillors couldn't come to the meeting the other day and was, makes it hard having the big discussions we are having. It's a bit of a shame for the Blossom Festival, all these things, so really the result of that is starting to have an impact. But, in farming terms, I think, the economy is looking good that way, so, the land thing looks good, the wool's been sick, but business is probably pretty brisk around parts, you can't get builders, you can't get that, so hopefully that masks a bit of that, because if it does turn downhill, we'll be in trouble. But no, I don't think there's anything else. Been involved with the school a wee bit, just trying to, an issue that we're planning, they're just trying to make sure that one end of the school gets taken away and finished soon or bold, but it's just the end of the year and they've got to have insurance and fire regulations and stuff, things like that. And new owner in the Wedderburn Tavern, the taverns have been busier, so it's quite good to have new blood, and the two pubs like Chatter Creek have also got going, so a lot of people have been going about how good the food is, so from Chatter Creek to Waipia, and they've been pretty busy businesses in Wedderburn. And that's about my report.
Right, thank you, Stu. Can I have someone move those reports, please?
Yeah.
So, seconder, please. Mark Harris, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye, against? Carried, thank you. Status reports. Have everyone read them about the sublease, the PRR, the
Yeah.
Kyber? Anything in there you want to talk about?
There's not much happening with any of them, is
Nope.
it?
Right,
Yeah,
the
stop for
Christmas
that.
tree that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I, someone move that we report those reports be accepted, please.
Yeah.
Sue Umbers, seconder, please. Duncan Helm, all those in favour? Aye, against? Carried, thank you. Date of the next meeting is 18th of November 2021. Right, so now we need we need something to move to exclude the public, please. Correct? Yep. So seconder, please. Mark Harris, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Just give me the notice.